hello, I didn't see you there. My name's Allison and I make stuff. Like this book. I was inspired to make this book because I recently started playing this game called Cult of the Lamb that came out. And it's kind of like a mixture between a roguelite and a base building game. And it has this mechanic called the Doctrines. And the Doctrines are a way to change the rituals and the traits of your cult. So we really get to choose your own adventure. They're displayed in the game in this really cool kind of raggedy book covered in sigils that you really only see for like a split second when the animation is opening and closing the book. But the second I saw it, I knew I had to try to make it. So if you'd like to see me try to make this book, keep watching.
So I started with a reference image of the book, and what I noticed is that the aspect ratio looked a lot like 5:7. So I was able to find this 5:7 sketchbook at my local art store that had the spine on the side. It was actually kind of hard to find. A lot of the ones that I found had the spine at the top, which is not what we want for this kind of book, which opens up. The next thing I noticed about it was this little flap here. I decided I didn't want to do a flap, and instead I wanted to use a ribbon and make this more of a bookmark. So I got this, I believe, 1/2" ribbon, and it's not going to be like an open close flap. It's going to be more like a bookmark that goes down the spine. The next really noticeable thing is the design on top of the book. For that, I got these 2 iron-on vinyl. It's hard to tell in this photo, but the secondary parts of the image are more like a tan color, which I kind of interpret as a gold, so I thought gold would look really cool. So the main image in the border is going to be black, and then the secondary images are going to be gold. When the book flips open in the animation, it's very fast, so I couldn't really figure out what color end pages I should use. So I ended up getting just a nice kind of taupe. It's kind of like speckled colored, which is nice because then it kind of looks a little older. With that in mind, let's get started making the book. The first step is to deconstruct the book. This one has a paper cover that I'm going to try to rip off as much, and then maybe get the end cap off by using the heat gun. So honestly, just ripping the cover off worked really well. I don't even need to use my heat tool. It's pretty decently clean. So the end pages have to dry on the text blocks. We're going to glue them onto the text block next so that when we're ready to assemble everything is nice and dry. So we're going to take the paper that I selected for the text block and fold in half carefully. And now we're going to cut them to size. As we've just learned, it looks like my text block is not completely square, but that's fine. Because if you flip this over, it fits perfectly this way, but if you flip it over, that's not cute. But that's fine. I'm going to use this text block, or sorry, this end page to measure the second one. Now we can glue the end pages on. Now I'm gonna let this sit underneath a bunch of heavy books to dry. I've pre-cut some board to 7 1/4 high, and we're gonna start measuring out. We're gonna make the cover and the back the same width as text block. I cut these off screen because my cutting board is very gross looking, but yeah, this is 7 1/4 inches high and then 5 across. To measure the spine, we're actually going to take the whole text block and cover group together and figure out how wide this is. So it's just under an inch, so I'd say it's 7/8 is what we're going to go with. Now that we have the front, the back, and the spine, we're going to glue them together on a piece of scrap paper so that it's easier to attach it to our book cloth without getting anything out of alignment. I'm going to start by gluing the spine on. We want to make sure that the paper is folded over on the edge of the spine so we have a nice crisp edge. I'm gonna let the glue here fully dry. Now that this is dry, we can fold it back and we have a nice crisp line. I made the mistake last time I did a book project of not letting glue dry fast enough, and everything got all ripped and weird. So I'm going to mark a 1/4 inch out for our hinge for the book. This is where we're going to attach the back and the front. And once again, let dry because this is a marathon, not a race, as I've learned. Decided to add some strips of this non-woven tape I have across the spine and the inside because if you saw my last bookmaking video where I redid a paperback book I have into case bound, that was an issue then, so we are being extra cautious. I actually don't remember what this tape is called. I bought it for shoemaking actually, but it is very useful. I use it for like a lot of things, like this. I thought about making my own book cloth for this project, but when I was at the craft store, they had one basically the perfect color. My printout is a little, I don't know why my printer made it a little dark looking and burgundy, but in the game it's really more of a bright red. So, perfect. I like to keep about 3/4 of an inch around all the edges of my book cloth. I don't cut it out exactly, just do a decent enough job. because this will all be hidden by the end pages anyways. Let's start by gluing the book cloth to the spine. So I'm going to find just the rough center of book cloth and make a mark. And add glue to the spine. I'm going to make sure to really get in this crease. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry a little bit as well before we continue on to the cover. Okay, I'll let that dry for a little bit and we can continue on the gluing. And once again, let dry. So we got a lot of extra here. Ooh, and maybe not enough extra there. Ooh, oopsies. But I have my little template I made, which is the same thickness as the regular board I have. And that's the distance between this point and the edge is the thickness of the board. I'm going to use that to draw my guide to remove excess. And now we can start gluing the flaps down. Now I took this and I looked at my book to make sure it fit correctly, and it's a little snug on the ends. There's not a lot of extra on the ends, but honestly, I think it is fine. What my little template does is make these perfectly turned corners that are super neat. To make the cover image, I've taken a copy of this screenshot and take it into a free software called Photopea. And I was able to isolate the black part of the image and turn it into pieces that I could cut out on my Cricut. What I've done is I've made it two pieces. Like I said before, we have the border and we have the main image and we have the extra part. So I've cut these out so they line up perfectly. The gold border here is just right now for show. I'm gonna actually cut that off before I iron it on. but that will help me align everything in the box properly. So as I was placing this on here to iron it on, I realized the width is really nice, but it's way too short. It's like a good, let's see, inch too short. Yeah, it's an inch too short, maybe 3/4 of an inch. That is because the image I took has this added part where it kind of like almost uses foreshortening to make it look like the book is angled, and you can see the bottom of the book. So I'm thinking I want to lengthen this. I could just kind of add more little notches. Ooh, that actually could be cute. And I think what I could do is actually just add a couple more notches and elongate and drag this down. I don't know if I could do the whole thing. Let me experiment. You know, this isn't so bad. I think I'm gonna stick with this. The reason I don't want to recut it out is it's just kind of wasteful. If I'm gonna have used more iron-on that I'm not actually gonna use, it's gonna end up in the trash. So let's do this. Let's just have a little creative problem solving. Another idea I had was maybe just take this iron-on vinyl and cut thin strips to fill in the gaps. And if we hate this, we can do that. Okay, time to iron down. Try to get this guy centered. Oh my gosh, this looks so good! That's gonna be so cool. Okay, so I decided to use the same design on the back. I thought it'd be cool. Instead of leaving the back blank. We never see the back in the game, so this is just my creative interpretation. So let's get to it. Okay, that needs a little bit more time. These bigger pieces seem to need a lot more ironing than the little ones. Maybe it's like heat distribution, I don't know. This looks so good. I forgot to mention I bought this headband. What this does is it goes at the top of the page. So I'm going to apply that now. I got the red one because I thought it would look nice. I also decided I wanted to add more of this non-woven tape to the edge of the end paper and the spine. I think it'll give a lot of strength. Since this is where a lot of the tension is going to be on the book, I figure it might be nice. Lovely. So, I thought I was okay with how far to the edge this goes, but I realized it's like a little too much. So, we're gonna try to cut the text block, which is terrifying because it's thick. Well, let's go. Okay, you know, could be worse, could be better. The best part is the book in the game is a little crunchy, so our book being a little funky looking would be totally fine. I suppose the last thing to do is to glue the text block into the book. We already know from earlier that our text block is not square, so it's going to be a little futzy, but once again, like I said, in the game, the book is very artistically rendered, so we have a little bit of creative liberty here. So it is still a little gluey and a little wet, so I'm gonna put this under some heavy books to dry for a little bit. And then, honestly, that's it. Wait, I forgot to add the bookmark. Very important. Luckily, I think I can still get into the spine a little bit while the glue is still tacky. I'm just gonna go ahead. Let's see, which way is up? This way's up. I'm just gonna do that. Add a little glue. Stick it in the spine. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this silly little project, and I'll see you next time. Bye.